All right, so now we're putting all of the properties of exponents from this section together into expressions that we need to simplify. Please note that sometimes the order isn't going to matter, sometimes it is. As a general rule, I'm going to work from the outside in. But for instance, like if you take a look at C, just to give you an example, we could first, with this second term where it's being taken to the power of -1, we could find the reciprocal, then change the sign to 1, or we could distribute the -1 first to all terms and then simplify afterwards. That order doesn't matter. Sometimes we have to go in a certain order. For instance, we can't multiply anything together in these two separate terms in part A until we distribute the exponent, because we're taking a product to a power, so we can distribute the exponent. So let's go ahead and do that first. So we're looking at c to the 4th to the 5th times d squared to the 5th. Now the second term, we can do the same thing because it's just multiplication inside the parentheses. So 3 to the 4th times c to the 4th times d to the 5th to the 4th. And now we're taking a power to a power so we can multiply the exponents. So c to the 4th to the 5th, that's c to the 4 times 5, which is c to the 20th. D squared to the 5th, that's d to the 2 times 5, which is d to the 10th. 3 to the 4th, that's just 81. And then c to the 4th, and then d to the 5th to the 4th, that's d to the 5 times 4, which is d to the 20th. And now we can put our like terms together. So c to the 20th times c to the 4th times d to the 10th times d to the 20th times 81. And you can mark those underneath those as you go so you don't lose track. And now we are multiplying values with the same base. Let's move the constant to the front first, because that's always going to come first. And now we're same base and multiplying, so we add the exponents. So this is c to the 20 plus 4, which is c to the 24th. d to the 10th times d to the 20th, that's d to the 10 plus 20, so d to the 30th. And there is our simplified expression. All right, now with part B, we've got a little bit more going on because there's multiplication and division, powers being taken to powers. Again, as a general rule, I'm going to work from the outside in. So we're taking a power to a power, a to the -2 to the 3. That's a to the -2 times 3. So that's a to the -6. A squared to the 4th, that's a to the 2 times 4. So a to the 8th. And then a to the 4, a to the 4th power to the 5th power. Power to a power, so we multiply a to the 4 times 5, so that's a to the 20th. And we could do this in one step because we're adding the exponents in the numerator, subtracting the 1 in the denominator, but we'll go ahead and do it in 2 steps. So the top is a to the -6 times a to the 8th. That's a to the -6 plus 8, so that's a squared. That's still over a to the 20th. And then this is going to equal, we can subtract the 2 from the 20. We can do it in a few steps, or we could just simply recognize that this is, the a squared is going to cancel, subtract 2 from the 20. So this is 1 over a to the 18th. Now if you needed to write that out using the properties that we learned, you could do a to the 2 minus 20, which equals a to the -18th but then that's just, again, going to equal 1 over a to the 18th. And then part C, we have a lot more going on. So let's go ahead and distribute our 2. So this is going to end up being 3 squared times x squared times y squared squared over x squared squared times y to the negative 3 squared. And I'm going to go ahead and do what I said first and just change the numerator and denominator. Take the reciprocal, so x cubed times y squared over 9xy to the negative 3, and that's going to be to the first power, so we don't need to put the power out there. Now let's simplify what we have on the left. That's going to be 9x squared y to the 4th, power to a power, so we multiply the exponents, over x squared squared is x to the 4th, y to the negative 3 squared is going to be y to the negative 6th. That's still times x cubed y squared over 9x y to the negative 3. Now one thing I can notice right off the bat, there's a 9 in the numerator over here and a 9 in the denominator over here, so these are going to cancel. And if we multiply across the top, that gives us x squared times x cubed, so we add the exponents. X to the 2 plus 3 is x to the 5th. Y to the 4th times y squared, that's y to the 4 plus 2, which is y to the 6th. In the denominator, x to the 4th times x, that's going to be x to the 4 plus 1, which is x to the 5th. Y to the negative 6 times y to the negative 3, that's negative 6 plus negative 3, so y to the negative 9th. Now if you'll notice, these cancel. So this is going to end up being y. We'll go ahead and use the quotient property. Y to the 6 minus negative 9. And that's 6 plus a positive 9. So that equals y to the 15th.